One night at 2:17 a.m., all the students, except one, of Miss Gandy's third grade class got up and left their homes and never came back. If you know anything about this movie, I'm sure you know that premise. It's been in all of the posters and taglines and trailers and whatever. That was the very first marketing thing that I ever saw with this movie, where you see the shots of these children running as they do the little pose. They're like Y posing from a video game default thing, and then as they're running out of the houses, and you see footage of them running and footage from Ring cameras of them running, and that's the big mystery. What happened to these kids? Also, why is the movie called Weapons? That's I think the two biggest mysteries and the two biggest questions that people have as they come into this movie. Now, I'm gonna talk a little bit about my overall thoughts just in general, and then I'm going to get into spoilers as I usually do with these reviews. But the biggest thing that I can say is go into this movie knowing as little as possible and let the mystery unravel. Let it unfold. Figure out what's happening for yourself, and I think you'll have a great time with that. With that being said, I'm going to talk a little bit about some basics. So if you want to know absolutely nothing, stop the video now, go watch the movie, come back later. But if you want to know just a little bit more, like how are my thoughts overall, with some very minor spoilers just from like the beginning of the movie and some of the setup, then keep watching. So the movie starts and we do see the children. I mean, it starts with like a little narration. We don't know who specifically is narrating. It could be the one kid left behind, Alex. It could be, well, no, I don't think it was, because no, it wasn't, because some stuff that happens later. But there's just a kid from the school narrating, and she or he, it sounded like a little girl, but you can't tell because kids' voices. But there was that little narration at the beginning where this kid talks about the premise of the movie, and you see the children running out of their homes at 2:17 a.m. Stuff from the trailers that everybody has seen. And then we start to get people's perspectives on what's going on, starting with one of our main characters, Justine, who is the teacher, Justine Gandy. She is the teacher of this third grade class who has had all of her students leave the house at 2:17 a.m. and never come back, except for one, Alex. And I'll talk about him a little bit more in the spoiler section, because I'm not going to bring up some spoilers now. But I really liked everybody's acting in this movie. I think overall the performances were great, especially Josh Brolin and Julia Garner as the main two kind of people. They did a great job, and the movie overall did a really interesting job of laying out the mystery and giving it to us in layers. This is part of the very slight spoilers that I was talking about, but what it does is it shows you different people's perspectives of a lot of the same events. So it starts with Justine. I keep trying to call her by her actual name. It starts with Justine, and she is a teacher. It goes about like what some of her reactions are to this travesty that has rocked this community, and how she's treated by some of the parents, because obviously it's her class. What happened? So she's kind of going through it. She's a little bit of an alcoholic, some stuff like that. And I'm not going to get too much into her story or any of the stories, but the way that it does things is it goes character by character. And we start with Justine, and then we get a look at Archer, who's the dad of another one of the students, Matthew. And you get to see their perspectives on things and how all their stories intertwine. And it's really interesting because you're kind of left to kind of put together the pieces and think about, how do things play out? Where do things go from here? How does this all fit together? Where are these kids? And that's basically it. I really liked the acting. Where the story went was interesting. I'm still kind of thinking about it because I literally just got home from the theaters, and I'm making this video now, like as soon as I got home. I'm still thinking about it, and I'm still kind of processing my overall thoughts about the story as a whole. And I think there are some things that I was kind of a little bit iffy on. So I'm still kind of processing it in my head, but I'll talk about some of those in the spoilery section. And I guess I can't say much more without getting into spoilers. So big spoiler warning. we're going to get into spoilers. I'm going to spoil the plot right now. Right now, I'm going to say what happened to the kids. I'm going to say where they are right now. I'm going to tell you. I'm going to say it, so click off. Here we go. I'm going to tell you. All right. Alex's aunt, his Aunt Gladys, is a witch, and she is staying with the family, and she has bewitched Alex's parents, and she basically told Alex, like, I will kill your parents if you don't bring me an item from all of your classmates. And then she takes the items from all the classmates, and she does some witch ritual, and at 2:17 a.m., all of the students come to Alex's house, and they're all chilling in his basement. And they're just there. And that's where we get into the title of the movie. These kids are some kind of weapons that Gladys, this witch lady, is going to use for something. And we don't know exactly what she's doing. We don't know her plan. We don't know like where she comes from. We don't know much about her witchcraft or what she does specifically. And that's kind of a little bit where I'm like, I would have liked a little bit more about her, because we get some interesting things with the things that she can do and a little bit with that, but there isn't much about why she's doing it. And that's left more up to speculation to see if, I don't know, maybe there's some demon or something involved, or she's part of a cult, or who knows. Like, it could be anything, but it's mostly just up to us to figure out, or to speculate about, or to come up with our own conclusions and our own sort of backstory for her or whatever. So we don't really know. She also comes to live with Alex and his family under the pretense of her being sick, and she's clearly sick, and we don't exactly know why. I think personally that it has something to do with her witchcraft, and that it's either draining her or something like that, and she's going through it. And I don't know if she needs these kids for something to bring her youth back, but that's kind of a stretch. I mean, just one minor thought that I had while watching the movie, and I don't know why she needed the kids. That's the big thing, is like, I don't know why this all happened. Now, everything else was really cool, but that's the one point of contention I have. It's like, I don't know. And we weren't really given any explanation for that. Everything else was really cool. The way that they laid out the story, the way that we had Justine come in and go through her thing, and then we saw how Archer came in and how he's kind of putting things together, and then he teams up with Justine, and then we get Paul, the cop, who has this beef with James, who's a drug addict. He's kind of on the streets, and then they have a run-in, and they kind of meet up later, and James tries to rob Alex's house because he's trying to steal things to make some money, and he finds the kids there, and then he tries to go to the police station to tell people, and he has a run-in with Paul, and then Paul arrests him or not arrest, I guess he takes him, and James is like, I know where the kids are, and then they go to the house, and then they both get taken by Gladys and her witchcraft, and they both end up dying in the end. Or James, I guess we can assume he dies. I don't think we see him explicitly die, but Paul gets shot in the neck and the head, so he's dead. And all that and the way that played out was really interesting. Another thing, I really liked Benedict Wong's character. He was not in this movie for a lot, but his character was really cool, especially when he just out of nowhere comes dead sprinting with the same arm thing that all the kids were doing at Justine, tackles her at the gas station, and then her and Archer have to fight him off, and then he gets hit by a car and destroyed. But that section was like genuinely unnerving, and Benedict Wong is like one of the most like nicest looking actors in Hollywood. I feel like, he feels like he would be just somebody that you can chill with and hang out, and just like a very comfy, cuddly dude. And he was genuinely scary when he was chasing down Justine and his eyes were bugging out and all that. It was kind of funny to see him like that. Speaking of kind of funny, This movie has some hilarious moments, which I was not expecting from the marketing. I was expecting it to be 100% all serious horror, thriller, mystery the whole time. There's some pretty hilarious parts, especially during the ending chase sequence when all the kids, or when Alex gets some of Gladys's hair and he does the little witch ritual and he sicks all of the kids on her and they're chasing her throughout the city and she's like running through people's houses and people are like, what? Like my theater, there weren't a ton of people there, but everyone was like actually like laughing pretty hard during that sequence. And then of course the kids tackle her and they rip her to pieces and it's all disgusting and whatever. But that whole like sequence, and there were some other parts I can't remember specifically, but there were some other sections that were actually pretty funny, which is kind of surprising for this movie. And I enjoyed it. It was clever. It was enjoyable. The scares, I think, weren't super scary. The only one that I think was really good was the first major scary sequence where Justine goes to Alex's house at night because she's trying to figure out what's going on with him. And you see the door open. And then Alex's mom with scissors kind of like walks stiffly and like runs out of the house and heads over to the car. And then the camera is just focusing on Justine and you hear the car door open and shut. She's in the back seat. And then she just takes the scissors and snips off a piece of her hair and leaves. And you're like, ugh. But that whole sequence was very unsettling and unnerving. And that stuff was really cool. I also liked the stuff towards the end when Alex's parents were just standing in the hallway, just doing nothing. When there was just tension, it was done very, very well. The scares, I think, were fun. They weren't anything to write home about, but like any of the jump scares, they were fine. They were fine. They were jump scares. Yeah. They were more so early on in the movie when Justine was having like nightmares about the kids wearing makeup or whatever, wearing like the clownish makeup that Gladys wears when she's in public. And it was more about like she sees them in the classroom or at like on her ceiling at night when she's trying to sleep and she's having these nightmares. But the scares were fine for what they were. Overall, I think the story is the best part about it, and the way that the mystery unravels, and then the fallout from that, because the mystery kind of unravels itself at about like the hour and 15, hour 20 mark, and then you still have another about like 45 minutes of the movie left. And it's interesting because now you know where the kids are, and then everything else is trying to play out, and you're like, okay, what's going to happen? And then it's sort of like, we got to stop the witch, that sort of stuff happening. So, and then that was fun, you know, that plays out and then she dies and all of that fun stuff. But overall, I think it was pretty good. I just wish we had a little bit more lore on Gladys herself, why she's doing this, what her purpose is, why does she need all these kids? And there was a lot of interesting things early on that didn't quite pay off as much as I would have wanted it to. I assumed when Paul got stabbed with James's needle when he reached into his pocket or something like that, I assumed that was going to become a bigger issue than it was. I wondered initially if there was something in that needle, like if James had come across some potion or something, I don't know, and then it got in, he like put it in a needle because he wanted to take a sample. I don't know, I'm just coming up with some stupid ideas, and then it got injected into Paul, but ultimately that was just to have them have a run-in with each other, which I guess fell a little bit flat overall, but it wasn't terrible. And overall, I think the movie did a good job of keeping the mystery interesting throughout, and then keeping the fallout from that mystery interesting as well. There were some other subplots, like Paul's whole like clash with his girlfriend, I guess, and him lying to Justine about them breaking up, and then him and Justine hanging out and hooking up, and then that being a problem, and then that just like nothing, that went nowhere after that. Basically, it was more so just so I think his girlfriend was Donna, just so Donna could come over and attack Justine in the liquor store. It was more so just that. And there were some other parts like that just kind of didn't really go anywhere. It was sort of like a story setup for more character development, but then not much happened. And overall, the characters didn't get too much development other than Alex, who I guess his development was just getting over his fear of Aunt Gladys and performing the witch ritual to stand up to her and stop her or whatever. But overall, still a pretty good movie. I enjoyed it. I would say it's worth seeing. Not incredible, amazing, but it was still really good. I liked it. It was a good time. I had fun. All right, cool. Thanks for watching this video. Let me know in the comments, what did you think of Weapons? Yeah. Oh, also, the thing that Josh Brolin, his character, what is his name? Archer. The dream that he had where he went to the house and he saw like the machine gun or whatever over the top of the house was sick. But I wish that had some story significance. I mean, it kind of did because the kids are weapons for Gladys for something. But again, I just wish we knew more about what Gladys was doing. That's all. All right, cool. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.